One of the most important relationships an owner of a construction company should focus on is their relationships with capital, their relationships with lenders. Now, one thing that many construction company owners find out the hard way is that capital doesn't like construction companies. And there's some big reasons why. Fundamentally, construction companies, their revenue is contingent on relationships with a few customers throughout the year. This puts their revenue at risk. That is why banks and private equity have a cautious approach when they're talking to construction companies. So what's an owner supposed to do? There's 4 things an owner can focus on. The first is having strong financial controls. Most construction companies have extremely weak financial controls, and when they go to a bank and they talk about maybe taking on some debt to fund growth or to buy some property, the bank is going to look at their finances, and if things aren't super clear and concise, and if their books don't reflect absolutely world-class reporting, then that person is going to most likely see that things are going to be delayed 6 months until they can address the situation. The second thing a construction company must focus on is buying real estate as quickly as possible. When it makes sense and you can keep your debt to equity ratio at a manageable amount, that's when you should go buy real estate. Why is that? Because banks like dirt. If you're going to seek leverage from a bank and you have real estate, your construction company owns real estate, they're going to find that to be much more attractive. Third strategy to deploy when it comes to building a good relationship with lenders is make sure you can go get as big of a line of credit as possible. When I say this to people, some operators, in fact too many, hold up their hands in holy horror and they say, I don't want to get into debt. It's okay. Banks will typically look at a large line of credit as a positive thing. If you have a large line of credit, then what that validates is that you've gone through a significant vetting process in the first place to get that line of credit. Now, when you're asking for a line of credit, don't go and ask for it when your cash position is very low. When things are feeling amazing and you have a lot of money in the bank and a lot of work coming in, that's when you go get the biggest line of credit you can possibly acquire. The fourth and final strategy that an owner of a construction company should really consider is, instead of going to the big national banks, they should try and build relationships with credit unions or community banks. And the reason why is because these banks are set up to give you the boutique experience that will typically reflect what the owner of like a $50 or $60 million operation would get if they're working with one of these large national banks. The credit unions and the community banks are going to take the time to understand what your business needs and find a path to giving you access to the banking that you need to increase the likelihood of success. In our line of work, sometimes we run into people who, unfortunately, they have no money. Some things might have been mismanaged, some jobs dropped out, they lost some key staff, they're going through a lawsuit, they're broke. Please, our message is to resist the temptation of going to a loan shark. If a bank won't work with you or a second-tier lender won't work with you, you're going to find someone who will, but they're going to charge significant interest. Please just stay away. This one move has taken out so many well-meaning construction company owners. Find a way to not work with those people, downsize your business and start again. Do not get caught up with the loan sharks. When business owners feel like they're tight on cash, there's also a temptation to go out and get a second mortgage on a house. Okay, if you have to go and remortgage your house to fund business operations, there's a reason for that. You probably have some latent issues in your company that haven't been dealt with. So to sum it all up, as soon as you can, focus on having very clear, accurate financial controls that reflect best practices. Please go buy real estate. Banks love it when construction companies own land. Third, get as big a line of credit as you can. When things are going great and you feel like you don't need it, that's when you got to go get your line of credit. Fourth, work with credit unions, work with community banks. They'll give you the boutique experience that you need to fund future growth.